Hi, everyone. I am your host, Rhonda Lee Chapman, and welcome to People, Nature, Big Ideas. About a month ago, we launched a special 3-part series, and it's dedicated to the Outdoors for All Act. And it's part of TPL's annual Day on the Hill. And while we're here, we're amplifying the act's importance. We want to talk about the pieces of legislation that are related to it, like the Explore Act. We want to talk about schoolyard investments that are also a part of what it means to be outdoors. And so far, it's been a really great journey, and we're wrapping it up today. And all throughout this 3-part series, we've been keenly focused on the values and the benefits of Outdoors for All, right? But I also wanted to offer some additional context, and it's about democracy. It's been an experience of mine for many, many years that there are residents and citizens in the United States who don't really feel like they have the ability or the right to call upon members of Congress. And I know that there are frontline organizations. I know that there are other community groups and definitely individuals who don't feel like they have the agency. Maybe they feel disenfranchised or they are disenfranchised. And some of that has to do with the way Congress and all of its complexities are portrayed through social media and the various forms of communication where we're receiving information constantly. I just want to remind us all that members of Congress are here to serve the people who put them in position, regardless of our political affiliations, that as citizens, we are their constituents. They're here to work for us. And so, again, Congress works for you. Congress is here to help create the bills that can make the changes that you want to see for yourself, changes you want to see for your loved ones, changes you want to see for your communities. And so we're here on the Hill. We're TPL. We have a whole host of leaders and supporters who are here with us. We've got community partners with us, and we understand how significant it is, and we're not taking any of this for granted. And what's funny is when I witness people enter the halls of Congress for the first time, I see how they feel the power. I see how they witness the energy. And importantly, I think that the experience that they really feel is the power in themselves. They see the power of their own voices. And that's transformative. And it's something that people will never forget. And it also gives me hope for our collective well-being. When people have this experience for the first time, they know they can come back again and again. And so today on this episode, we're going to be talking with some of our strongest advocates. They're going to be the people who are broadly supporting the Outdoors for All legislation. They're going to be talking about how Congress really needs to prioritize investments in green spaces, how they need to prioritize equitable access to nature, providing resources for workforce development, healthy communities, and give us an opportunity to celebrate the joy that's actually possible. And so without further ado, we're just going to get into it. So come along. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Rhonda.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
We are in Washington, D.C.
Indeed.
This is a big week for our TPL. This is a big week for legislators. This is a big week for our followers, our staff, our advisors.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
The whole TPL community is in town. Make it happen.
I feel like they're all in the office.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions.
You got it.
You are Diane Regas. You are the Chief Executive Officer for the Trust for Public Land. So first of all, honor and thanks. It's been such an honor to work with you these many years, and we're so glad to
likewise.
Oh, thank you. And we're really glad to have you here. We are, as you know, advocating for the Outdoors for All Act, among many other items. And I would love to know from you, for our listening audience, what does the Outdoors for All Act mean to you and TPL?
What TPL stands for is connecting everyone to the outdoors. And we know that there's 100 million people in this country who do not have any kind of park or nature close to home. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think about my grandkids. They can run to a park.
Yeah.
Every kid should have access to nature. Every family, every person in this country should have access to nature. And so the Outdoors for All Act is going to help accelerate that, which is super exciting. And there's a couple things I'm particularly excited about. One is it's going to help make sure we recognize publicly, the House and the Senate, the President recognize the importance of this.
That's right.
I mean, we've been able to get some of this done, year by year, slip it in here, slip it in there. But this is putting a stake in the ground
Awesome.
to say, this is super important, which it is.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. It's going to smooth the way to put the money to work. So the TPL community, a lot of conservation organizations work together for many years to make sure that what we call LWCF,
Okay.
Land and Water Conservation Fund,
All right.
got funded
Okay.
permanently, which
Excellent.
is fabulous.
Excellent.
And that's great progress. We want to help make sure that it's smooth to put that money to work. We all know that there's bureaucracy and red tape, and we're going to make it smoother.
Excellent.
And I'm excited about that. And then the third thing, and I think I say for me, the best for last,
Okay.
which is the legislation is going to help make sure the money can go where it's most needed. Small rural communities be eligible for the first time. Tribes will be able to access these resources that they need to connect from a cultural perspective, from thousands of years of history of living on this land, stewarding this land. And so it's just terrific, and I'm super excited about it. It's already passed the House. Folks think that nothing's happening good in Washington. It's just not true.
That's right.
We are able to get these things done because everybody in this country recognizes the importance of the outdoors. You hear about national parks being America's best idea. Mm-hmm. So we all support this. It's going to move forward. I'm super excited about it.
Awesome. So one more question,
Yes.
and then I'll let you go because I know it's a busy day.
Yeah.
For our listening audience, what's the one thing that you want them to take away?
The one thing I want people to take away
Yeah.
is, what does hope look like?
Okay.
And to me, hope is not a feeling, kind of, I hope things will happen. Hope comes from coming together as a community and making progress.
Yeah.
And whether that's building a new park or green space in your community, or coming to Washington and talking with your senator, your member of Congress, to say, here's what this would mean for us, and seeing it happen, we can make change. We can make the world a better place. And that's where hope comes from. And that's what we're doing this week in Washington.
I love it. And it's also making me think about your initial reflection about your grandchildren. You can't have a future without hope.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's very connected. So I really appreciate that, Diane.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking time.
Oh, thanks for
I know you got to
inviting me.
run off.
This is so cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So everybody's going to be really happy to see this and hear
Nice.
all about it.
And so great to see you.
It's good to see you too. So I am so thrilled to be speaking with you, Senator Hickenlooper, out of Colorado. I have to say that I had the honor of actually just listening to you speak, and you said some really inspiring things. And as you know, Trust for Public Land is here for a whole host of reasons. Day on the Hill Week, it's a big deal to be in DC. And one of the big issues that we're talking about is the Outdoors for All Act. But we're also talking about schoolyards. We're talking about a number of things. And I would just love for myself and our listening audience to know what it is that you're most excited about. Why does this type of legislation matter to you and your constituents?
Rhonda Lee, thanks for the question. And I think we are at this moment where we can change the not just the direction, but the momentum of our country. And for too long, the largest corporations have been focused on maximizing profit with disdain for the waste they create and what that does to our landscapes. And Trust for Public Land has stood strong against this for forever. And I think we're seeing now that moment when young people especially are willing to join that fight in a nonpartisan way, that clean air, clean water, public lands is something that we all believe in. And it's sort of like there's been a tyranny that, to use the founding fathers, always were worried about tyrants taking over. And there was a quote from Tom Paine that tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. But we have this consolation that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. And I think that's what we have to recognize, and that's the level of optimism we have to believe, is that we have a glorious triumph within our grasp. And the outdoor recreation, Outdoors for All, is amazingly positive in this notion that we can go to all 50 states. And once we do this country, we can do other countries around the world with this notion that our landscapes matter, and that we want to make sure that every kid can be within a 10-minute walk of a quality green space, no matter what city they live in,
Absolutely.
no matter what state they live in.
Absolutely. It's really interesting to me. I really appreciated your notion around the nonpartisanship nature of this. You know, the environment doesn't know political lines, right? The environment, whether we're talking about climate, whether we're talking about air, it's everywhere that we need to be. The environment, Mother Nature, cares not who you're voting for. It only cares to be protected, and it cares to be restored. It cares to be invested in, right? And so our relationship is really important. So I really appreciate you mentioning that. I'm really curious about, you mentioned optimism, and I think sometimes it's very hard for people to kind of drum up the optimism necessary, because we're living in a time where there's just so much happening globally, nationally. So how do you think people can find that optimism? What is it that they should be optimistic about moving forward?
Well, I think they have every right to feel optimistic, because when people unite across partisan lines, across government lines, there's a power and a strength there. And this reality that together we can address what has for too long been the spoiling of our lands, by joining together, we can win. And it is going to be a glorious triumph that we can unite together. And at this moment in time, it's within our grasp to really turn back the clock. I think all public lands, we shouldn't worry about what the different levels of protection are for our public lands. We should have a basic standard that any activity on any of our public lands should make those lands better, not worse. Nothing stays the same. So these activities are either going to make the lands better and more sustainable, or worse. Let's start setting the standard for all our public lands, that we're going to make our activities help that land become better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just one final question. Today is a big day where we've got a lot of members and supporters of the Trust for Public Land having meetings with various members of Congress. And I don't know what your day looks like, and I'm sure it's very complicated. I'm sure it's very fast moving. But what's the one thing that gets you the most excited about seeing all of these advocates for the environment coming to Capitol Hill? The one thing that you most look forward to when you either think about today or you think about this week?
You know, the part that gets me most excited, and it's pretty much every day, is this notion that we can bring people back together again. I look at the dysfunction of Washington and the divisions that we see, and how some of the structures of our political system create those divisions and force the separations that really hinder us. And I get flat out excited when I think about, what the Trust for Public Land has done in terms of Colorado. I know that for a fact, because we are within 6 or 7 years of making sure that every kid is within a 10-minute walk of a quality green space.
That's awesome.
That's exhilarating.
Yeah.
It's really, really exhilarating that one governor to the next governor to the next governor can all have that vision. And it's not hard for me to imagine a massive gathering on the mall in Washington around climate justice.
Yes.
And our public lands and clean air and clean water.
Yes.
Not partisan.
Yes.
All about, how do we make sure that we're taking care of our lands in such a way that not just the next generation, but the next 10 generations
That's right.
are going to be able to have the quality of life that we imagined that we had and that we wanted, even if we didn't get it.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for your time. I know it's a busy day. I wish you the best. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your thoughts. And I'll talk to you soon, Senator.
Rhonda Lee, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Rhonda. It's great to be here with you.
I'm so happy to have you here. We are having such a big week here in Washington, D.C. We've got so many people coming to us from all over the country to support our work as we're advancing legislation. And before I keep talking, I would love for you to introduce yourself for our listening audience.
Sure. My name is Jessica Montoya, and I am Senior Director for Park Equity, Federal Relations, and I'm based here in the Washington, D.C. office.
Awesome. So as you know, we're really working hard to make sure that we can get Outdoors for All Act available for everybody. We know that it has passed, I think, the Senate. Is that correct? Or has it passed?
It's passed in the House.
It passed in the House. Okay. So can you tell me and our listening audience what the Outdoors for All Act means to you and your leadership at TPL?
Well, first of all, yes, the Outdoors for All Act has passed in the House of Representatives. It was included in a greater recreation package, which is called the Explore Act.
Okay.
Now we're moving on toward the Senate so that the Senate can pass their version of the legislation, which is called AORA.
Okay.
And that's the American Recreation and Outdoors Act. And that also has Outdoors for All Act provisions enfolded in that bill.
Okay.
So what it means to me, I grew up in northern New Mexico. I grew up playing in the mountains, hiking, playing with dirt. Being outdoors is really, for me as a Hispanic American, part of being with family. And when our Chief Impact Officer, Luis Benitez, who is also here with us for Day on the Hill, when he testified before the House of Representatives Federal Land Subcommittee, my congresswoman from New Mexico, Representative Teresa Leger Fernandez, she said, when I see these pictures of people hiking, and it's usually a man with a backpack and he's at the top of a mountain and looking over it. And the congresswoman said, I say to myself, where's his family?
Right.
Why is he alone? Where is his family? And that really struck close to my heart because that really is what Outdoors for All means to me and my community. Growing up in northern New Mexico, I would really look forward when the weather was a little warmer. We would pack up our vans and we would go camping for a weekend in the Jemez Mountains, where there's hot springs and springs with beautiful water and tadpoles and fish growing, and just the opportunity to be with my family, go on a hike, go for a swim. So that's what it means to me, is the opportunity for families to be together and enjoy the outdoors, be able to bond and learn and grow together.
It almost sounds too like nature is a family member. The way you were just describing it, it's like that kind of connection with like the humans.
Right.
As you're engaging with nature, the nature becomes an extension of your family, right?
Exactly.
I love that.
And in my community, we're very connected to our land, connected to our rivers. I grew up alongside the Rio Grande River in northern New Mexico, and water is life.
Yes.
The earth is life, and it really is sacred.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. So I know that it's a busy day, so I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure.
And what is one thought or one sentiment that you want our listening audience to know? In other words, there might be some people who are like, I didn't grow up in New Mexico, so this doesn't apply to me.
Right.
Tell me why people should care.
Yeah, I think people should care because everyone deserves access to a park, especially in urban areas where there's a lot of buildings or concrete jungle. It's really important that we give, especially our young people and our families, a place to play, a place to go that's not covered with asphalt, but somewhere where they can have a picnic, maybe play a basketball game. grow a little community garden. So I would really encourage people here today to just tell your story.
Yeah.
Maybe you grew up in the mountains like me. Maybe you grew up in an urban environment. Maybe you grew up in a rural area.
Yep.
And even in those rural areas, there might not be public parks to go. So I would really encourage everyone to tell your story, and especially all of the great benefits that come from being outdoors. Your wellness, your mental health, your physical health, and just the ability to get away for a while and just breathe, right?
Yes. I appreciate that. You know, there are often times when I'm having meetings, you know, we're on Zoom, we're talking all the time. And every now and then, since I have my dog and I do live in the city,
Right.
I will see if I can take my meeting outside just so I can open up my mind, give my lungs a chance to get some freshness. And so I'm with you 100%. I think nature is everywhere.
Right.
We just have to look and then we have to ask for it, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're doing here today in Washington, D.C. We're asking the Congress to support Outdoors for All Act, so that more opportunities can come to rural, especially rural areas, so that we can open up these grants to create parks for tribes. For the first time, Outdoors for All would allow tribes to directly apply for outdoor recreation legacy partnership grants, which is so important.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, I know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know our listening audience is going to be really thrilled to learn about a lot of what you had to say. So I will see you on Capitol Hill.
I'll see you on the Hill, and it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Rhonda.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
My name is Danielle Dank. I'm the Community Schoolyard Initiative Director at the Trust for Public Land, which means I work across the country with the goal to scale up schoolyards so that every child can have the benefit of nature outside their classroom doors.
I love it. I love it so much. I was a very active kid. It was really hard to bring me in after recess as a child because that's where I got all my release. I was a very energetic child. So it was like recess, playing outside was super important to me. So I'm really grateful for the work that you do on behalf of my inner child and all the children that exist and all the children yet to come. So we're here in DC. There's so many people who have come here that are TPL supporters. We've got a lot of staff, and most of us are here to talk about the Outdoors for All Act. But I know that Congress is never sleepy, and there are many initiatives that are underway right now. And I think we're going to talk about some schoolyards legislation. Is that right?
That's right.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're really excited to take the chance to advocate for increased funding for schoolyards. Schoolyards have historically not been sort of a top-line budgetary item by school districts. And of course, we know school districts have so many things to fund. So we find situations where the outdoor environment, especially in underfunded school districts, ends up being just asphalt with a chain link fence around it. And we all know that that's not enough. It's not what really provides opportunities for the kids to be physically active, to be around nature, to be able to explore and gather and learn outside, and all the wonderful things that we got to enjoy as children. We want every child to have that, but in order to really have that, there needs to be more funding. It needs to be sustainable. So, of course, at the federal level, creating policy that will open up avenues of funding for schoolyards specifically will make a significant difference in getting to scale. So we're here to kind of share that message. There's some really exciting activity happening right now with legislation.
Nice.
So we're really there to, here in DC to make sure that others understand the benefit of having equal access and how schoolyards are such an important part of unlocking that access.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm curious, and this, I don't want to put you on the spot, and if you don't know, you don't know, but when we're talking about schoolyards, are we only talking about them in an urban context? Are we thinking about our rural communities? Are we talking about the suburbs? Does it matter?
Well, what we're finding that as we look across the country at the places where community schoolyards are needed, we find them in underserved urban communities in particular, but we also find them in rural communities.
Okay.
In urban communities, it's about having access to a park. As we know, access is not equal for everyone, and we need to change that. It's a matter of health. It's a matter of learning, and it's a matter that really takes a full partnership approach to bring this to reality. In rural areas, it's very interesting because the schoolyard might only be the only place for outdoor recreation in that community.
Oh, wow.
And it's often a trusted center. And so it might be the place where there's firework displays and where there's opportunities to celebrate with everybody. And they're serving double duty already, but they're not necessarily renovated to the place where they can provide safe opportunity for everybody. So we see discrepancies in particular in rural and urban communities. And recently, Trust for Public Land has been working with the Bureau of Indian Education.
Nice.
And
Talk
so,
about it.
Yeah, so that program, it's our Tribal Community Schoolyard program, is focused on working with Indigenous communities and understanding how we can support their vision and the way that they see the land, to get outside and to make it a place for celebrating their culture, Indigenous ways of knowing, the amazing ways of having sovereignty in education is manifest outside. But if the outdoor environments don't really provide opportunity for that, then they fail to really advance those goals in a way that's sustainable. So, we're there as supporters, and these are all community-led spaces everywhere we work.
I love that. And what's coming to mind as you're talking about the work with tribal communities and Indigenous communities is thinking about kind of a reunion or a reconnection. I had an opportunity to speak with Jessica Montoya at another point for the podcast, and we were talking about nature as an extension of our being, nature as an extension of self. And as you were just describing this initiative, I was thinking about cultural resilience. And so it feels like schoolyards are not just about infrastructure. They're also about culture. They're also about, as you mentioned, like life ways and learning new ways to engage with the science, new ways to engage with our bodies and things like that. So I like how your leadership is kind of bringing schoolyards into being in a way that it's like way more expansive than a lot of us had ever imagined. It used to just be, as you mentioned, it's just this place and there's a chain link fence around and that's all it's ever going to be. So I really appreciate you kind of taking the fences down in our own minds and as we think about how to envision what a schoolyard can be. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I appreciate that framing. I've been doing a lot of kind of researching and understanding and learning about Indigenous ways of knowing, and that sense that nature is mother, that we are one with the cycle of nature, that we're not separate from, is such a profound way of understanding. And it's something that I think many of us have lost. And so trying to reinfuse that into a space that's already nurturing, and a school and a kind of that maternal space is very it's grounding. It's culturally grounding, and I think it's spiritually grounding for a lot of people. So I find myself on a learning journey, and I'm just trying to bring those ways of kind of seeing things to everything else that helps us advance the schoolyard mission.
I appreciate too, just real quick, like this notion about you being on a learning journey. And I think it says a lot about your leadership, but it also says something about the Trust for Public Land in terms of us realizing like, we don't know everything and we don't pretend to. And so when we go into community and community is telling us exactly what we're there to do, right? There was another person that I spoke with at another time who called it fellowship. We need you all to come in and follow the path that we lay out, and that's exactly what you all are doing. So, kudos to you all. I know that you've got to go, and I'm trying to keep these conversations short, and I could talk to you for a really long time. I've learned a lot from you, by the way, over the last couple of years, and so I appreciate being able to continue to learn from you. So just quick shout out.
Oh, quick shout out back to you, Rhonda. I've learned so much from you and your podcast and the storytellers you bring in. Every time I listen, I feel like I'm enriched a little bit more. So
I love
thank
that.
you for what you do.
Lucas St. Clair. Welcome to People, Nature, Big Ideas.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
I'm really glad that you're here. Day on the Hill is a really big deal for us.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know if our listening audience knows who you are, but I will tell them that you are the chairman of the National Board of Trustees, right?
That's right.
For TPL?
That's right.
the Outdoors for All Act. That's one of the big things that we really want to champion here, and we've got a lot of supporters here, as you know. I just had an opportunity to speak with Senator Hickenlooper, and what I wanted to know from you is, like, what does any of this mean? Like, why should anybody care about the Outdoors for All Act?
Well, we were just prepping this morning with Dr. Howie Frumkin and all of the volunteers that are about to go onto the Hill and exercise their constitutional right to lobby their representatives. And we were kind of getting armed with tools about why it's important, why what we're going to go and talk to these senators and congressmen about is important. And he really kind of distills it down into nice little nuggets about health, about human welfare. You know, we are better people when we're outside is sort of the fundamental thought that we're kinder to one another, we're more receptive to outside inputs, our health becomes better, we become more thoughtful, we have appreciation for the natural world, which is so critical in this moment. So the idea for Outdoors for All is to make sure that everyone in America, no matter where you live, what zip code you're from, what the color of your skin is, the amount of money that you make, you have that access.
Yeah.
And we've used land and access to land in our country in a lot of different ways throughout our history. And in some ways it's become a way to intentionally marginalize communities. And we want to try to reverse that. And this is a way to do it with federal legislation. This is a start, or maybe this is a midway point, or you know, we're along the path to getting it right. But this is a really important part of that path. So yeah, we're spending the day today talking to members of Congress and
I love it.
getting them to support it.
I love it. I definitely see myself as a queen, but in this case, I want to pretend like I'm a senator.
All right.
I am Senator Rhonda Lee Chapman, okay? And you want to move me to take action in support of, let's say, the Outdoors for All Act. What's your pitch?
What I get most excited about is reminding senators of various different places in their districts. So we're going to talk to Angus King today and about the Carrabassett Valley, where he spends a lot of his time, and these beautiful mountains, and imagining them if they were being harvested for timber, or if there weren't trails into them where people could go, if the Appalachian Trail didn't come across those mountains. And I like to use that example especially because when I graduated from high school, I was a mediocre C student, didn't know where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. And so I took a year off and I hiked the Appalachian Trail. And I started in Georgia and I walked all the way back to Maine. And it gave me the sense of confidence and capability that I had no idea was inside of me.
Wow.
And from that moment on, I have been able to achieve a lot of things because I know, like, I can put my mind to it and I can figure it out. I can get it done. I can walk from Georgia to Maine along this treadway. You know, I can figure out how to lobby our congressmen. I can figure out how to create a national park. There are things that I've done because I've tapped into this experience that I had in nature. And that treadway isn't there by accident. That treadway is there because members of Congress and really passionate people partnered together to get something done. And that's what we're trying to do over and over and over. That's, the AT is one example.
Yeah.
And we're trying to create a million more all around the country.
I love it.
So I think, the federal government's a powerful tool and we want it to be used for good. And so we have to be able as citizens, as constituents, to come here and remind senators that they have the ability to do good and to direct the power of the federal government to their states and to enhance people's lives in really meaningful ways. And a lot of that is through nature.
Yeah, and it's their opportunity to do legacy work. Like,
yeah, totally.
When we look back 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and we say, wow, we're experiencing this wonderful thing, to be able to attribute that to me as Senator Rhonda Lee Chapman, I'd be really happy to be on that side of the story, that side of history, right? Knowing that I did what I could to protect the environment, to enhance people's lived experiences, and to invest in the resources that matter. So, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Tiana.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm excited to be here. It's exciting to see the impact that we can have on our communities by advocating for things we believe in, so I'm great.
That's awesome. You know, I know who you are, but the folks who are listening to this podcast do not. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, no problem. I'm Tiana Amos. I am currently a college sophomore. I am studying political science, but what brought me here to Capitol Hill is I'm engaged with my community through a nonprofit organization called For Oak Cliff, in which I was a teen intern, and that's how I kind of got involved with them.
Where is Oak Cliff?
Oak Cliff is located in South Dallas.
South Dallas, Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you made a long journey.
Yes, ma'am, I did, but I don't regret it.
Oh, where do you go to school?
I go to school in North Carolina in a city called Greensboro, and I go to NC-A&T.
Awesome. So a lot of the conversations that I've been able to have been about the Outdoors for All Act. And I've been asking folks what it really means to them. Mm-hmm. Why is it important to communities? What does it mean to invest in nature and outdoor spaces? And I'm curious what some of your thoughts are.
Okay, that's a great question, and I like that you bring that up, especially for my generation. We are big on mental health. Mm-hmm. So when you have outdoor spaces, when you have parks, when you have these green spaces for people to engage and act in, you're ultimately stimulating the mind. So my group and the people younger than me, we went through the pandemic. We were in the house all the time. It does have a psychological effect, and you can see it in people in their social interactions, mm-hmm. and their grades in school, mm-hmm. and the fact if they even come to school. Mm-hmm. So when you have green spaces and places for people to go outdoors, it helps us with our mental well-being. Mm-hmm. As well, it gives people places to go to if their homes are not the best, if their financial circumstances are not the best. You have a space where you can release it, ground yourself, like I said, touch grass, and when you surround yourself with nature, it kind of gives you the sense like, okay, everything is going to be all right.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I have to go out in nature every day.
Yes.
It's just kind of a touchstone for me. It kind of helps me settle down. It helps open my mind. So one of the things I was thinking about with Capitol Hill is a lot of people might think that Capitol Hill is not a space that's available to them. You came here from kind of North Carolina and Texas.
Yes.
You are a college sophomore.
Yes.
And I would love to hear from you some of your perspective about Congress and Capitol Hill. Like, what were you thinking this experience was going to be like?
It's actually so funny that you mentioned that, because I was speaking with my mom and I was like, never in a million years did I think I would be in the room with the people I'm in the room with, that I'll sit in offices with Congress, especially coming from South Dallas. Mm-hmm. Not many of us make it past our environment. And so the fact that, everything I've been through in my life, from homelessness to domestic violence, it's like those type of interactions don't seem possible for me. But now that I'm here, it's definitely attainable, especially when you reach out to your community and there are people who are making pushes and efforts and strives to a better tomorrow. When you find those people and really engage with them. And so I used to think Capitol Hill in DC is a distant memory. They don't care about us. But now that I'm here and I'm able to live it, it couldn't be far from the truth.
Yeah, I love that. Would you ever consider running for office?
Oh, yes. Especially with my major in poli-sci, I'm like, okay, I can see myself here.
Oh, I love it so much. Well, I just wanted to have a couple of minutes with you. I really wanted to get your perspective. It's so important. You're a beautiful human being. It's an honor to have you here with us. Oak Cliff is lucky to have you.
Thank you.
NC-A&T is lucky to have you.
Thank you.
The future is lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
And we will talk again soon.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, that wraps it up. And we really hope you enjoyed this series featuring the Outdoors for All Act. It was so much fun, and I'm so grateful to everybody who gave me some time, shared their insights, and hopefully inspired and touched a few of you. People, Nature, Big Ideas is produced by the Trust for Public Land in partnership with Pretty Good Productions. Our executive producer is Thomas Clayton Miller. Our producer is Vanessa Martin. And our associate producer is Alyssa Morley. Our theme song was produced by Tall Black Guy Productions. And if you like the show, please leave us a rating on iTunes and maybe mention us to one or two of your friends. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.